Wake up. Did you hear me? I said wake up. Foster heard as her eyes groggily began to open. Finding herself extremely startled in the moment, as she peered up to see a figure standing over her. Time's up. It's been 6 hours. It's time to go, Hamilton said, with his usual lack of enthusiasm. Foster had noticed that he had somewhat of a permanent fixture on his face. An expression of, this is all very inconvenient. Or at least that's the feeling she got when she looked at it. Has it been 6 hours already? She said, placing her hand on her head for a moment. I should have said 7. Fine, I'm up. I'm getting up, she said as she pulled herself up and began to make her sleeping bag up, rolling it up tightly and stuffing it back into her bag, grabbing a small amount of preserved meat and beginning to take a bite out of it as she closed her bag back up, standing to her feet. I will be so happy when this is over with, she said, before taking a bite out of the preserved meat. Then we have that much in common, Hamilton replied as he began to walk in the direction that they were heading before they started to go to sleep. Or at least Foster went to sleep. So you've just been up all night, she said, looking at him somewhat curiously. Yes, I already told you I don't sleep. Wraiths don't sleep. It is not something that is required of us. I can't imagine something that exhausting. I mean, can you physically sleep even if you don't need to? Foster asked. Why on earth would I sleep if I didn't need to? Hamilton replied. That idea is simply preposterous. It serves no purpose and has no point. You just don't get it. Sleeping is sort of a recharge. It invigorates you, lets your mind be at ease for a short time. You can drift off into a dream, and feel relaxed, work out problems that you don't know you're working out. I often find that after a good night's sleep, I find myself with new ideas on problems that had been blocking me before. You never know. You might be more effective if you slept every once in a while. Well, that is, if you could sleep. Which is why I ask. I have no time for such meaningless things. I've already wasted 6 hours allowing you to rest. We have an objective. Don't forget about it. The odds we are facing are not slight. Every moment we waste only increases the chances that we'll encounter confrontation, or competition, you might call it. Yeah, very dangerous people, I get it, Foster replied, as she began to follow suit, following behind, and chewing down the last bit of preserved meat that she had in her hand. Hey, Hamilton, Foster said, looking over to him as she had begun walking beside him. Pretty soon we're going to be coming up to a human village. We're going to need to circle around. I thought I told you no detours. It won't take that long at all. The village isn't huge, but it would be very inconvenient for them to come in contact with me. You may be able to pass for human, but red women with horns most definitely don't. So, we need to circle around them. And once again, you're inconveniencing me, he replied, the same typical emotionless expression on his face. Why don't I simply kill them all? Wouldn't that resolve the issue? Yeah, but if you're going to kill them all, you might as well just walk around the village. In fact, the killing would probably take longer. And not to mention that humans tend to operate on a very social system. They stay in contact with one another, even over distance. There are couriers and trade between villages. If one village simply up and disappears, if they're all seemingly slaughtered, then all of the surrounding villages will be alerted. And suddenly it's not just one village. Suddenly, every village in the area is on edge, looking out for anything strange or unusual, people passing through, strange sights in the woods, running patrols, things like that. They could even call in military forces from the kingdoms that surround this place. The last thing we need is large troops of soldiers stampeding their way through here with armor, and swords and shields and maces, and always with the torches. And even worse than that, we could attract the attention of paladins. We definitely don't need that. Human beings may be physically weak, but they have great numbers. And that doesn't mean they're without power. Paladins are able to produce a form of energy that's exceptionally damaging to things of a supernatural nature, such as demons. Trust me, you don't want to get hit by it. They can cloak their weapons in it. I've even seen them produce blasts. In a one-on-one fight with a demon that is worth its salt, the demon will obviously win. But humans work in numbers. They reproduce far faster than most demons do, which only stands to reason. They have very short lifespans. Just one paladin may not serve as a problem, but a large group of them can be extremely dangerous. They're not the same as the rabbled communities that encounter and populate these villages. It's best to avoid them altogether, Foster explained, trying to be reasonable with him, though he seemed to be very unreasonable when it came to anything that might slow down his progression. Still inconvenient. No, it's best that we simply pass right through the village, Hamilton replied. I already told you, red women with horns don't pass for human. I can't go to a human village. They'd immediately call me as a demon, and then torches and pitchforks. It doesn't matter whether I want to hurt them. I don't really care. But they, on the other hand, care a lot. Sometimes I wish they would stop giving a crap. I mean, it's not like I've ever done anything to them. But I assure you, if anyone sees me, they're going to assume that I'm there to do some sort of wicked deed to them. Steal their children or eat their souls. Poison their wells and burn their crops. A bunch of nonsense. I have better things to do with my time, of course. That's enough of that, Hamilton said, as he stopped in his tracks for a moment, looking over to Foster, who stopped in her tracks as well, wondering what he was doing. As for a moment he extended his hand, placing it on Foster's shoulder, as a green glow began to emanate from him for a moment. The green light seemed to shift, suddenly beginning to cover Foster's body, and with a shimmer of green sparkly light, Foster began to notice her appearance changing, covering over as if the color of her skin was changing. And before she knew it, Foster looked human. As she looked at her hands and her body, she couldn't believe it. She was basically indistinguishable from a regular human. What did you do to me?" Foster replied, feeling shocked and a little bit violated. "I haven't done anything to you. It's simply an illusion. It's a very basic form of magic. It'll last about the next 8 hours or so. That should be plenty of time to pass through this village without any confrontation. As Foster reached up, feeling her head, she still felt her horns there. Well, it's kind of pointless if I still have horns, Foster said, sounding annoyed. As I said, it doesn't change your physical body. You're still you. You're still actually red. You still actually have horns. The illusion simply masks it. You can feel the horns because you're touching them. But to those looking at you, they're invisible. They can't be seen. So, as long as you don't get stupid and start letting people touch your head, you'll be fine.